side are kind of extreme. So one thing that we can do as a general society is start realizing that all of these elections are important. The primary election is important. Don't leave it to the extreme sides to pick your November candidate. Good evening. I'm Delia Parker-Mims, and on this Up Close and Personal, we're going to be having a political discussion with none other than Ms. Bernadine Steptoe, the Emmy-nominated TV producer who has spent much of her career going over politics and talking about the political landscape in Texas. So let's begin. I am so glad that you're here today, and this primary has gotten hot, and I know you have some insight into it. So can you tell us, first, before we get into the what's happening in the primary, what's happening in Denton County, how do you believe the primary sets the stage for our November election?
Looking at the primary, since you do have one party in control of the state, then the primary really determines who will have the seat come in the general. Right. Rarely does that change once the primary is over, and that's in both parties, because you have a very, very competitive Democratic primary. And now you're having competitive Republican primaries.
Yeah. I've always said that in the primaries, we don't get enough people voting, but in Denton County, we're trying to push people to vote in the primaries because it makes them want to see it through in November and increase that turnout. But in the Republican side, if we could get non-extreme people running, if we can get Republicans and on Democratic side, less extreme people voting in the primaries, maybe we could have a different type of November where we're not having such extreme candidates.
Well, I think that's hopeful, but remember, in the primary, those are really your parties fighting within themselves. Mm-hmm. And currently, in the Republican Party, the extremes control the party. Yeah. And then in the Democratic Party, the extremes basically control it. So those are the people who you are going to have running in those primaries. Now, here's what could change in the state of Texas, is that the general election becomes more competitive. Okay, if the Republicans know that they're going to have a reputable or a serious candidate in the Democratic to run against in the general, they will probably look more closely at that primary candidate, and that primary candidate might not be as extreme. Same with the Democratic Party. See, they elect extremes because that's what the party is.
Right. I've always said that the people who vote in the primaries, the ones paying attention to voters, you're right, they are the extremes within their party. And so when people get to November and they don't want to vote because they think the other person is extreme, they had control of that when they could have voted in March.
Yes. And I think that one thing that I'm very, very interested in it, because the current Democratic Party chair, mm-hmm. he made an effort to put a candidate in every statewide office. Now, what is most important, we'll see, because once the general comes, or once they get out of the primary, is that helps. Mm-hmm. But the question is, what is the caliber of that candidates or those candidates?
Well, let's talk about the primary then. Now, I'm the chair of the Denton Democratic Party, so I'm focused a little bit on the Democrats here. I think our primary that we're having now is going to be a dichotomy of different styles, but ultimately our top candidates, we have Tallarico and Crockett. I think they say the same thing, but they have a different style.
I know, and that is a very, very interesting race. And keep in mind the Republican is as well, but they're not really saying the same thing.
No.
But in the Democratic primary, it's so interesting because the style of the candidate as well as the style of the campaigning is such a stark difference.
It is a stark difference. What are you seeing predominantly that's difference between the Tallarico and the Crockett in terms of their campaign style?
Tallarico is running a a traditional as well as a non-traditional in the sense that he is doing social media, but he's also doing phone banking. He started early. He's also doing, and I was saying earlier, the Democratic Party, Democrats want to see signs.
They do.
They want to ride down the street, go in their neighborhoods, and they want to see signs. Now, that's one of the things that, especially in the predominantly people of color, though that I shy away from minority because we're no longer minorities.
Yeah.
But they are accustomed to seeing signs, and I think that Tallarico has run a more traditional type campaign than Congresswoman Crockett, and I think that towards the end, I think she recognized that I've got to do better. I've got to do more than just running a social media campaign.
Yeah.
Trying to bring out the young, the demographics in that area, as well as the low voter demographic. Because see, here's the problem with that. It is a problem. I try my best not to say problem. But here's the problem is that you're looking at a demographic that doesn't historically turn out anyway.
Mm-hmm. Are you talking about black demographic? Or what demographic?
Young people. I'm talking about the young people. I'm glad you clarified that.
You're right.
The young.
You're right.
I mean, there is no facts that show that you're going to get a high turnout among young people.
That's true. That's true.
Now they did better with President Obama.
But he ran a more traditional campaign, in my opinion, because he was very, very grassroots,
Yes.
And it was empowering, and you didn't have to just look for it because he was everywhere. But he made you feel empowered, and he expanded the electorate. Now, both Tallarico and Crockett claim that their campaign is going to help expand the electorate because that's how they're going to have to win. Do you think Crockett is reaching a base that's helping it expand? Who do you think she's reaching by doing the type of campaigning that she's doing?
That's the problem.
Yeah. See, one wants to excite people, whereas the other one wants to excite, but also he continues to say he's opening his hand.
Well, and then, as I said again, he started early, but that traditional campaigning is he's leaving no one untouched.
This is true.
See, you know what? Historically, the largest voting demographic is older and women. Okay, if your campaign is primarily centered on TikTok, Facebook, now older they use Facebook a little bit more, but social media, you're doomed to have a questionable turnout because they don't historically turn out and they're TikToking.
Right.
So, but Tallarico is doing both. And I remember early on, and let's talk about these early voters because you're doing extremely well in Denton County, but let's talk about Denton County early on when he was attending Denton County affairs.
He has been attending the events with it, and I will say both of them. Both of them we're lucky to get either one of them, right? They're both great candidates.
Well, I'm talking about early on before.
But he has been investing in Denton County, coming here to get to know us. He keynoted our dinner, and it wasn't difficult to do that. Now, by the same token, Congresswoman Crockett came to Denton County and keynoted, but that was before she was elected. We've always thought she was amazing. And she came there, but we've been reaching to try to get her back here. But you're exactly right. Tallarico he's not missing any demographic. He's going after them all. And then he's also going into areas that traditionally Democrats don't go into.
I know. And then and also acknowledge Congresswoman Crockett got into this Senate race so late.
She did.
So and we want to definitely acknowledge that. However, one of the things and I'm not saying that Tallarico is doing an excellent campaigning, but it's more traditional reaching across.
It's more traditional reaching across. And we have learned in Denton County that it works because since I've been chair, we've been increasing turnout. And it's been the traditional. It's not the glamour, it's not the beautiful images. It is getting on the phone, it is block walking, it is community conversations, it is getting your precinct chairs working, it's getting those precinct chairs spots filled, and we've been doing that. And as you may know, we're the largest county in the state of Texas that continually increases Democratic turnout.
I know.
We're going up. The state was going down, and nationally, turnout's going down. So even when they're not motivated, they're still going to the polls when they're engaged. So that's what we've learned, and it works.